What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of the 5280 podcast on the MHRT network. We have done our 20 minutes of stretching. We have put our pillows behind our headboards, and we are ready to go. I am Douglas Creevy, your host as always, alongside Kevin Parker, Glenn Hauser, and Gage Madrid. How's it going, fellas?
The things that happen in the green room of this show, I swear to God, man.
Bleed over into the show with no context.
Yep.
Great. I love it.
That's the best part, the zero context.
Everyone's just sitting there going, pillow behind the headboard. What are you talking about?
And aren't you in a church right now? Wait a minute.
You didn't have to bring that up. But the majority of churchgoers have kids, so they know.
No comment.
What a start.
They know what's up.
We got to lead them in. We got to lead them in.
40 minutes of warm up, 5 seconds of fun time. That's So I'll ask the question again.
Are you describing our show? No, I'm just kidding.
Yes. Exactly what that meant.
I'm doing good. Football is back in the Mile High City. Finally.
Yeah, we get football on Saturday. Actually, every single preseason game for the Broncos will be on Saturday. So yeah, it's an exciting time. And actually, aside from the Hall of Fame game, we actually will have games. Like you have, I think, a couple preseason games on Thursday, and then you have some preseason games on Friday, and obviously Saturday and everything. So yeah, I am excited because it's also like the preseason for not just the National Football League, but also preseason for football in general. So like college football is gearing up here in like a couple weeks. You get week 0 games. We have nonstop football here. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure Glenn is all excited for, his what is it? New Hampshire, UNO or UNH?
UNH Wildcats. Absolutely. Yeah. Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Their opening game last year was against UCF, and a running back absolutely ran rampant over them named RJ Harvey, but
it's because he had his 20 minutes of stretching.
He did.
All right, so before we get into any of these topics, I just want to remind everyone to go ahead and hit that like button, that thumbs up on the show. Also, if you would like to support us, go ahead and leave us a super chat or a super sticker or whatever else. I don't even know anymore. But yeah, go ahead and check that out. Super compliment. 20 minutes of stretching. That's what you need to do. But we're going to go ahead and get into some training camp updates. So this whole keeping track of interceptions thing kind of bugs me a little bit. And I know we've talked about this before. Obviously, nobody wants to see somebody throw an interception. But in training camp, especially going against what's probably going to be the number 1 defense in the NFL, it's not about how many interceptions are thrown. It's about how the interception was thrown. Was it just a bad read? Was it a bad throw? Was it Nick's trying to push the ball down the field? That's what I'm more concerned about. So I know that people have been keeping track of the Bo Nix interceptions. So I wanted to ask the guys that have been to training camp and have seen the videos, seen the interviews, how is Bo Nix doing, and how is the rest of the team shaping up?
Go ahead, Kate. You've been there the longest.
Okay. So I think Bo Nix has been fine. More than fine, actually. He's been really good. He's been taking what the defense gives him. Yeah, I just saw this. This sucks.
I thought ESPN was going to go bankrupt.
Yeah, I mean, now Red Zone's going to be a really inferior product. But back to Bo Nix.
Watch Red Zone on Disney Plus.
Just illegally stream it like everybody else who's got some sense. But anyway, back to Bo Nix. He's been taking what the defense gives him. I know some hot take artists out there have been saying, oh, there haven't been any splash plays. He's been boring. It's so ridiculous to push that narrative. It really makes me frustrated because you see Bo Nix out there. The defense gives him a 5-yard out route. He's going to take that 5-yard out route every single time. Get him in 2nd and 5. Get him ready for the next play. But you see these hot take artists that just want him to push the ball downfield. which he has been doing. And I don't understand it, man. Bo Nix, he will throw into a tight window, and that's where most of his interceptions are coming from. He is testing tight windows downfield. He is trying to see what he can get away with in an actual game situation. And anybody who charts interceptions or worse charts quarterback stats in general, like Cleveland Browns beat reporters are doing, it just completely frustrates me. You don't know the situation. You don't know the context behind the drill. You don't know what they're trying to accomplish. You don't know what the actual play is. You don't know any of that stuff. You're just charting down if it was complete or not. And that's not how they're evaluating this in the building. So Bo Nix has been really good. Sean Payton will tell you Bo Nix has been really good. If you're actually out there and you know what you're looking at, you will know that Bo Nix has been really good. But those interceptions are just like Peyton Manning's training camp interceptions. Just trying to test those tight windows downfield, trying to make something happen on a third down. It's practice. This is when you're supposed to throw interceptions, especially 7-on-7 drills. That's a passing drill where if you're not throwing some picks in 7-on-7s, then I'm kind of concerned that you're just a check down Charlie. So do not be worried at all about Bo Nix. He's been fine, Broncos country.
I mean,
Tim, before we get into yours, because this is going to speak into your answer, Joe Brewer asks, is Nix throwing into double and triple coverage, or are the DBs making plays? Also, it blows the ESPN, the worst network in sports.
Well, no, and in the words of Allen Iverson, we talking about practice. Not a game. We talking about practice. So, like, I don't know. It's just
you watch too much TV.
Yeah, we got a real live Matt Friend over here. Yeah.
Playoffs.
But no, I just think that, like, the thing is, like, I will just lead off with this for the interceptions. If it was like the very beginning of training camp and Bo was like throwing a boatload of interceptions, which there have been some cases of that in training camp where interceptions are being thrown like at the early stages of training camp, I might have a bit more, hesitation or, cause for concern, if you will. We're talking also like a week or a week and a half into the fact that training camp is going on. So it's like where like the interceptions are starting to kind of go up, and to everything that Gage was saying, like he's just stretching the limits, and that is all a quarterback is doing. And frankly, I would be a little bit concerned if all Bo was doing was focusing on the middle of the field and not necessarily stretching the limits of, everything, that he talked about in his new YouTube channel. They have a video that just dropped actually today where he talked about, when there's the moments where, there's that small little moment where you want to take that chance. Sometimes you got to take it, and there's there are those times where you absolutely have to take it. So, but like I said, I would probably be semi-worried if this was like the very beginning of training camp and, Bo's throwing like 4, 5, 6, 7 interceptions in like the first week of camp. I would be a bit worried at that. But no, we're talking like a week and a half into it is when his first interceptions were being thrown. And frankly, the first interception that he threw was to the credit of the defender who, oh, by the way, was our free agent signing in Talanoa Hufanga. So let's talk about that. Not Bo Nix throwing that interception, just the fact that it was Hufanga who made a really good play on the ball that frankly may not have been an interception, but it was actually more so him. So I don't know. It's just the whole idea gets twisted. And I think the other part of it too is not to bring back a really bad PTSD moment. This is not a Paxton Lynch type of situation. Yeah, there were interceptions that were being thrown in practice, but also there were very dumb moments that were happening in practice, like taking a knee with a 2-minute warning, back in practices of 2016. Like that kind of dumb stuff cannot happen. I mean, I would rather it happen in practice, but like that kind of stuff happening on a 4th down where you're taking a knee and a 2-minute warning, that kind of stuff cannot happen. Okay, so like it's those kind of stuff, those things like that where I would be so worried if he was in the early part of camp.
Yeah.
To quote Steve Winwood, if you see a chance, take it.
Yeah.
Right?
And again, like this isn't a we know, or we at least we think we know what we're getting from Bo Nix. Like we saw from the last 12 games of last season, he's going to be good. So if you're looking at interceptions and the offense not being able to move the ball, well, maybe that's because the Broncos defense is pretty darn good. Like I don't think that there's that big of an argument to say that the Broncos secondary is probably the best secondary in the NFL.
Top 3 at least. I think it's pretty safe on
You
that.
heard me.
I think that we have this discussion every single season because every year in training camp, we come out and the defense is ahead of the offense. Every single year. And that's only going to be exacerbated this year because of how good our defense is. It's going to be that times 10. So, yeah, it's natural that our defense has been smothering our offense. You expect that because our defense has just been flying around and making plays. It's not that Bo Nix has been making dumb decisions and throwing the ball into triple coverage. None of that. It's mostly been our defense making really good plays on the ball, and it's been our defense being smothering in coverage and not giving him any open passing lanes. It's been our pass rush getting home and breathing down his neck. So I'm not concerned about any of this just because our defense is expected to be so good.
Yeah, well, and again,
and
like
Sean Payton.
I was going to say, you guys have been to training camp, so you would know better. But out of the videos I've seen and just of what I'm hearing in the recaps, it does seem like the offense is at least closer to the defense than it has been in a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Well, and that's the thing too, and that's the mark of a good team, because like over the past 8 years, when it's been training camp, it is that's all you want to hear. All we've been hearing, which is defense is winning today, defense is winning today, defense is winning today, defense is winning today. Like now that we actually have a competent quarterback to challenge and make him simply a better quarterback because of it, he's going to clap back. And I think that just that's the other side of Nix that, is frankly should be talked a little bit about more. And that is that he's a competitor. And so that he's actually going to be firing back at the team and coaching staff and that kind of thing, just because that's just how comfortable he is. That's the side note, how comfortable he is in this system. And so the fact is now we have an offense where, the defense may be winning it the majority of the time, but the fact is that we have had at least a couple days where the offense has really had a bit more of a winning day compared to the defense. So I just think that the fact that of comparing it to what we had in the past to what we've had now, this is a far cry in a positive direction from what we once had.
Yeah, and if Sean Payton's not concerned about it, then I don't think the rest of us need to be. Right. I mean, because clearly from his press conferences where you're seeing a different Sean Payton out there, he used to step on the questions all the time. He'd stay there for 6 minutes. He'd be in and out, and that's the thing. He loves his team so much. He loves his quarterback, and he just stands there for 20 minutes answering questions. Every once in a while he'll make a comment to somebody, but he seems like a very, very different guy, and he certainly doesn't seem like he's concerned with anything Bo Nix related.
He'll send random voicemails to Diana Rossini talking about how much he loves his quarterback.
I love my cue. It's what it's so weird.
So he loves this team. He really loves this team, and it is pretty evident just how relaxed he is. That's the other part of this. To what you're saying, he was really confident, in the team last year, but it's really evident when you do hear him speak and you hear even just Nick speak, for instance, just how calm or just, it really feels like the team is really starting to believe in the Sean Payton program in year 2. And it's starting to kind of take shape a little bit. The practices are being a bit longer, and it's a bit more physical, than maybe it was last year. And that is just a sign of that Sean Payton program, Sean Payton type of system, which is bearing fruit in year 2. So who knows what it's going to be like in year 3. But the fact that we are starting to get to the point where you're testing the limits, maybe going back to what we were talking about with Bo Nix and everything, but that goes to everybody, like testing the limits of what we can do because of how physical it's been in practice.
I'll give you a perfect example of that. Anytime Bo Nix sees single high press man coverage, he is testing the Cortland Sutton-Pat Surtain matchup. He could have a more favorable matchup on the other side with whoever Riley Moss is going against, even though Riley's been awesome in training camp as well, or he could attack the slot with Jahdae Barron. No, he's going right after the best corner in the game with his number one receiver, and he's got the confidence to do that. Sometimes it doesn't work out for him. Sometimes it ends in him getting intercepted. Sometimes it ends in PS2 having smothering coverage and the ball not being in the location it needed to be because PS2 threw off the route. So that's just Bo being aggressive and testing the best corner in the game. So I think that's a perfect example of just seeing what you can and can't get away with. And it's iron sharpening iron, man.
Yeah, and we got some interesting developments that have happened over at least this last week. You know, Broncos fans will sit here and tell you over the last 10 years, oh, we're a Super Bowl contender. Oh, we're going to do this. Team is going to be great. But now we have some national media, as well as our head coach that's talking top 4 team, Super Bowl team. Like, we're starting to catch fire before we even snap the ball for the first time.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. We were actually talking about this with the people at the Predominantly Orange like Slack channel, and you know, I love it, but by the same token, it's one where you kind of always enjoyed you know, flying under the radar and you know and having that, you know, underdog mentality, you know, but by the same token, considering where we were, like that's the thing, is like considering where we were like 2 years ago, it really warms my heart. Like it really warms my heart knowing the fact of like where this Broncos team was certainly at like 2 years ago, and in that Russell Wilson, you know, contract situation and the cap situation, which is, you know, his dead cap is going to be done after this year. So it's you know, like I said, I love the underdog mentality. It's probably the favorite side of it because you are flying under the radar, but it does feel really good. It feels really good to be the talk of the town, if you will. I mean, I think it was Rich Eisen was on with was doing a show with Albert Breer, but he talked about it. He said every single person we talked to, a beat reporter, every single person we talked to had visited Broncos training camp or any sort of training camp. You know, like he said every single time it's the Broncos. Like the Broncos are one of the top 2 or 3 teams that are always brought up in that situation.
Well, we just think about the last time that this team had expectations. Their head coach was Nathaniel Hackett. Their quarterback was Russell Wilson. Now we've got Sean Payton and Bo Nix. We've got people who can actually back up the talk. We've got people who actually can live up to the expectations. We've got the team, the supporting cast around our quarterback, and we've got the defense that can back it up. So this isn't just a talk the talk situation. This team walked the walk last year, and unless something completely goes south, and that probably being injuries, they're going to walk the walk again this year.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think about when things were going south for us just in recent years. We hadn't been to the playoffs since the Super Bowl at that point. And the national media, the snarky jokes, the let's ride comments, the just goofing on the team and the zero respect towards the Broncos. So it's really funny that we're the flavor of the month right now. And the Rams were also mentioned as like the most confident team out there outside of the Broncos. But you know, it's the fact that for a second year in a row, we have our starting quarterback and we have our head coach, and our quarterback is 25 years old, you know, so like we got plenty of time with this guy. Sean is a young 62. I think he's 62, and but he certainly doesn't seem that age. He's a, you know, I foresee that duo is going to be together for quite some time.
Yeah,
15 years. I think it's very possible they both go out together.
Could be.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean,
I think Sean's going to go as long as his quarterback goes.
yeah, I mean that's kind of been the talking point. And I think that this is kind of like an under the radar, if you will, in terms of like talking point, like probably needs to be started, and that's we do need to probably have a conversation about George Payton, and in a good way, to where a contract extension needs to be talked about, because I think he's now 3 years into this, to where we're at the point where we might want to talk about the idea of actually extending him, because it is pretty clear that he is drafting and developing, and the marriage with Sean is working, contrary to what the idiots on any sort of social media app is going to tell you. Like it is really evident that they really like each other and the relationship is perfect going on. So I think that everything is just building the right way. And I have to give kudos to Glenn because he brought this up, but it's just like the other part too is, and maybe this is just the juices flowing of the off season and with where we're at in training camp and all the opinions and all the things that have been, rolling in, but just the Broncos structure from top to bottom might actually end up being, when all is said and done, one of the top 3 or 4 best places in sports, because like it is pretty evident right now that they get it. They absolutely get it, from the financial side of things to respecting the fans, to respecting the team and the actual like franchise as a whole. Like it is pretty evident as things are going on that the Broncos have a very, very, very good, stable organization right now.
Mike, I thought you quit.
What happened? Listen, sometimes you got to quit to quit. You know what I'm saying?
I got off the Mountain Dew finally. Not easy, but I got off of it.
Mike is starring in Brokeback Mountain Dew. He can't
Bareback
quit you.
Mountain.
I can't quit you.
I can't. This is I'm paying for it. This is the first time I've had this many Mountain Dews in a day, and I think my heart's about to explode. So, but it's fine. It's fine. Entertainment.
If he crashes on stream, we know why.
Yeah, you have to relapse to quit again. See. All right.
Like someone used to say, quitting smoking is easy. It's not starting up again that's the hard part.
Facts. All right, so Gage, before we went live, we were talking about linebackers, and I know we talked a little bit about this last week as well, but it does seem like there is a push behind this Lavelle Bailey to be one of the starting inside linebackers alongside Trey Greenlaw.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't know you were continuing with that. Yeah, I do think it's definitely possible.
I wasn't sure if I was or not. So
well, there was his Mountain Dew crash right there. Right
that was the crash right there.
Cool. Yeah, I definitely think so. Lavelle Bailey has been freaking awesome. He's making plays almost every single day. He's going up against the first team offense. And the defense really hasn't missed a beat with both starting linebackers not in there. Justin Strnad's played well, but Lavelle Bailey has been one of the darlings of training camp. It started with the first open practice where he made 2 crazy plays on Lucas Kroll. The first one, he has a pick on the sideline. That was the day that you were out there as well, right, Cam?
Mm-hmm.
He has this crazy pick on the sideline where he breaks it up and is able to catch it off his own deflection, basically. And then he had another one where he comes in and cracks Kroll in the back and forces an incompletion. So it really started there, but every single day he's been near the ball, a near pick, had a play in the run game. I feel like he's got good range sideline to sideline. He's showing good ability in coverage, which is where Alex Singleton struggles quite a bit. So I honestly feel like it could be possible that this duo with Dre Greenlaw and Lavelle Bailey could be something this team could build on. And I think that when you're trying to win a Super Bowl, you need to go with the guys who can raise the ceiling in the room as opposed to raise the floor. If you're just trying to make the playoffs, if you're just trying to get better as a football team, then yeah, you'll go with the guy who kind of raises the floor more. But we're past that now. We're trying to win a championship this year. And sometimes you need to take those gambles. And I feel like Lavelle Bailey is playing so well that you can't take him out of the lineup. Alex Singleton might have just gotten Wally pipped.
So this is a question that I haven't, and I really don't want to even put it out there, but
You're gonna do it anyway.
I am. We did see Dre Greenlaw pull up a couple days ago with a, let's call it a slight injury because he was back at practice today. But is it more likely that we see Dre Greenlaw and Lavelle Bailey or Lavelle Bailey and Alex Singleton?
Meaning what?
Like Lavelle Bailey would be replacing an injured Dre Greenlaw alongside Alex Singleton. Is it more likely that we see that, or is it more likely that we see Lavelle Bailey starting over Singleton next to Greenlaw?
I think it's more likely. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I think Gage and I are in the same way. It would be Bailey would be replacing Singleton. And I think that like to everything that Gage was saying, it's like it depends on like what your high ceiling for the team is, because there is no doubt, and we had a conversation last week. It's just like there is no doubt what the highest ceiling of the linebacking core is, and that is Dre Greenlaw and Lavelle Bailey. The question is just, where is this Broncos team at structurally? Because even with Alex Singleton in that lineup, they were a top 3 defense, right? So, I mean, it's just like you put a Greenlaw with Singleton, it's going to really be interesting to follow. I think the one thing, and maybe I mentioned it last week, but the one thing I'm going to be worth following here that might actually trigger to the point where maybe they want to move on from Singleton, not so much maybe this year, but next year, is the idea of the green dot. I think that if they decide to put the green dot on Greenlaw, then I think that there's a very real chance that we are going to be talking about a completely different situation where obviously too, Singleton was a captain, a team captain. So there's just a lot of changing of the guard that can possibly be happening here, where Greenlaw is going to end up having the C on his chest. He's going to end up having the green dot. There's just a lot of moving parts where things are going to be trending in the direction where Singleton's not going to be on the team much longer. And I think given the fact of, with where things are with about having a year left, they probably won't necessarily move on from Singleton, but I certainly wouldn't rule it out, because the thing is like if Bailey continues to perform at such a high clip, it's that really tough conversation that you have every year of, do you want to put the higher ceiling player? I think that the thing here that it's just so different is the fact that we have Greenlaw next to this, I think makes it easier. I mean, obviously you want to have the best linebacking core possible, but having Greenlaw being there, at least makes it a bit easier for you that if you wanted to put Bailey in there for the full season of this year and moving on from Singleton, at least softens the blow a little bit. It hurts certainly because Singleton's such a consummate professional. He's been a team captain. But you also have those harsh conversations every single year.
Do you think that if he ends up being a backup, that they would ask him to take a pay cut?
Might.
I think he's at $6 million.
I mean, that's not too much. I don't think so. If they were going to demote him, I think they do right by him and give him the full $6 million. Okay. However, he's on the wrong side of 30, and maybe he sees it as, I've got limited opportunities to play. I can't afford to just sit here for a year and be a backup. Mm-hmm. I need to go somewhere where I can play, and there's always going to be another team out there that could use a starting linebacker that would probably send over a 7th-round pick to get him. So that's at least better for the Broncos because they don't have to cut him. And I can understand wanting to have him on the roster as insurance, but Alex Singleton's not going to replace Dre Greenlaw. I think Justin Sternad would actually do a better job replacing Dre Greenlaw because Greenlaw's a coverage linebacker and Singleton sucks in coverage. So I just don't think that would be the right move for Singleton or for the Broncos. Deep down, I don't think that he's going to be on this team if he's not starting. I think that they will find another opportunity for him elsewhere.
Yeah. The Broncos have had pretty good success with 7th-rounders on this team.
Mm-hmm. Or undrafted, free agents in that regard. Yeah. But I just think that, it's one of those things where it's pretty evident right now. And it probably took about a year and, this training camp and everything of where things are trending, of the linebacking core and the starting linebacking core being Lavelle Bailey and Dre Greenlaw. The question is just, is it going to be this year, or will it be in 2026 when all is said and done? I still kind of hold firm to the idea where you'll probably still see Singleton, but the question too is also going to be, by the end of the year, what would it even be like too? So, and that's always a question too.
If we're week 3 and Singleton's in there and he's not playing well, then I can almost guarantee you that they're going to make a change at that position.
Yeah.
So I want to bring this comment that Graham made up because it kind of bleeds into what we're going to talk about next, because everybody's been talking about it. Micah Parsons, Trey Hendrickson, Terry McLaurin. Graham wants to know, what could you get for Singleton in a hypothetical trade? So my question is there a possibility that we could go after a Micah Parsons or a Trey Hendrickson or a Terry McLaurin? And if we did, would Singleton be a part of a trade like that, or would it have to include a whole lot more than just an Alex Singleton?
Hypothetically, right. Hypothetically, you probably would want to include a team where linebacker is also, like inside linebacker is also of a need for them. And so probably Cincinnati in that case is probably would maybe be your, in air quotes, ideal team, just because of how bad things are, and they clearly moved on from Jermaine Pratt and everything. So, but that said, in the hypothetical scenario, it just won't happen, because if you are wanting to say trade for a Trey Hendrickson, or you want to trade for Micah Parsons specifically, you're going to be giving up a little bit more than just Alex Singleton in that regard. So
and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it does seem like Micah Parsons has been the one that's been brought up the most as far as like when Denver's involved. And I think when you talk about Micah Parsons, you have to include Nick Bonito into that, right? Like you would almost have to trade Nick Bonito and more to get Micah Parsons.
Possibly even Hendrickson as well, just FYI.
Oh, yeah. As far as out of those 3 players, the one that's most likely to get traded, I'm going to say Hendrickson. I don't think Micah's going to get traded. I think that this is him basically giving Jerry Jones, doing the same thing that Jerry Jones does, basically. He's BSing Jerry Jones. I think that it's one big poker game. I think that ultimately Jerry Jones is going to cave. The question is when. Jerry's not trading away Micah. He would piss off his entire fan base if he did that. I just don't think he's in the business of doing that. I think he's just trying to play chicken and get Micah to blink. Micah's not going to blink, but it will get done at some point before week 1. Same thing with Terry.
I was going to say Dallas also has notoriously been late on contracts.
Yes. Yes, and they've had to pay up because of it too, and I think that's going to happen here. I think that Micah wants to be the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL, which he definitely deserves.
And he'll get it.
Yeah, he'll get it, but negotiating with Jerry Jones is like pulling teeth, man.
Yeah.
And
how are they going to be able to handle his record-breaking salary, Dak's $60 million, CeeDee Lamb, it's 3 players are going to have half the cap.
Right. And I'm not saying that Denver is going to make a trade for Parsons, right? Like, I don't think Denver needs Parsons. I don't think, but when you look at it, is Micah Parsons better than Nick Bonito? And if he is, can Nick Bonito become as good as Micah Parsons?
No.
I think it's your big question.
No. I'm just going to flat out say it. No, he cannot. Micah Parsons is one of the best edge rushers in the NFL, both defending the pass and defending the run. Micah Parsons is elite. Nick Bonito, I've said this in our private chat. I'm going to say it publicly. He's a Robin. He's not a Batman. He benefits greatly from having a lot of one-on-one opportunities because he's got Zach Allen on the D-line. If you were to swap the situations, Nick Bonito would probably be a single-digit sack player, and Micah Parsons could be pushing for 20 sacks. I'm not even joking. And that's not even including what he brings in the run. Micah Parsons on this team would make us instant Super Bowl favorites, not just contenders, instant Super Bowl favorites. Nick Bonito's a good player. 5 of his 13 sacks last year were cleanup sacks. 4.5 of them were bad sets by the offensive tackle. He only had 4 sacks last year where you can truly say that it was a great win up front, that he dominated up front at the line of scrimmage. I think Nick Bonito was massively overrated. I'm just going to say it. And Dallas could be a team that would take that cheese. Trade him. Nick Bonito, a first-round pick. Alex Singleton could go in there too because they lost their starting linebacker, DeMarvion Overshown, at the back half of last year. He might not play much this year. And maybe a third-round pick. I would make that trade all day long because I want to push for a Super Bowl this year. This team is ready. We've got our franchise quarterback on a rookie deal. We've got to do it. Now, with Dallas, I think ultimately they're not going to trade him, and they're going to end up just paying Micah, and that ends that conversation here in Denver. And with Washington and Terry, it's kind of the same thing. Nothing benefits Washington by trading away Terry McLaurin. They're in a championship window just like Denver is. They need to keep all those assets there. He's their number one receiver. He's got elite chemistry with Jaden Daniels. That deal is going to get done as well. Hendrickson might get traded, but A, I don't think he fits Denver's scheme. And B, I just think he'd be way too expensive for Denver's asking price. You might be able to swindle Micah from Dallas if they were to take that cheese, but I just don't see it happening.
So let me ask you guys, let me ask everybody in the chat, would you make the trade for Micah Parsons?
The question is, would we make the trade? Absolutely, because and I tweeted it out, and that's both things can be true. It's not happening, and I would trade for Micah Parsons because you're an idiot if you're an idiot if you don't at least want Micah Parsons on your team.
Yeah,
right.
Well, and that was going to be the next question: is does George Payton and or Sean Payton go to make a trade for Micah Parsons?
It's not I think that they've certainly made calls. They've got to be interested, but it's not even disrespectful to the other players that are in part of this conversation about who you would trade for or who you would be replacing. Because would we replace any wide receiver with Justin Jefferson on this team? Absolutely. Like, it's not. It's a silly suggestion to think that we don't like these players that we have. I mean, right. It's like Cam said, it's so unlikely that it could happen. This is one of those just talking, just discussions and having fun with it. But if it did happen, if the chance, what Gage just outlined, including that 3rd-round pick, I think is an absolute no-brainer, and do it yesterday.
And even if you have to pay him and it handicaps your cap, would you care if it means the Broncos won a Super Bowl? Let's just be honest here. Would you want a Super Bowl if it means handicapping your cap for 5 years? I'd take that all day long.
Well, and I think looking at the cap, right? Like, we're already talking about Nick Bonito 25 to 30, right? So if we're trading away Nick Bonito and getting Micah Parsons, Cortland Sutton got extended, Zach Allen got extended, which we'll talk about here in a second. After Nick Bonito, is there anybody else that we're wanting to extend, or were those the 3?
No, there's always others that they could extend. Like, there's been some rumblings, whether it's true or not, but there has been some rumblings now of JFM possibly.
Right, but what I'm saying is that we're already thinking 25 to 30 for Bonito per year, right? So if we're going to go to Parsons, I'm guessing we're looking at 45 to 47 per year.
It's 40 and above.
So,
there's no doubt.
We're adding 20 million. It's not as big of a cap hit as we would have thought, right?
But here's the thing is, like, and I will say this until the dogs come home. The average per year is never the thing I'm worried about. Yeah. It's about the guaranteed money. You could give Zach Allen $40 million a year. But it would just necessarily be, the guaranteed money. Like, it's going to be the $100 million guaranteed. It's going to be the, the stuff that's a bit excessive. That would be, obnoxious. But I think that the other part of it is like also how spread out is it? And I think that that's where in this hypothetical situation, you would have to look at, or hypothetical, but yet also a true scenario, because I'm sure Benito will get extended, by the way, just to tie a bow on all of this.
Mhm.
Benito will get extended probably. But like to the point of like the Benito or the Parsons stuff, you would look to Sutton's deal because it was so team friendly and how it was spread out over the years. You know, like they were able to get Zach Allen done. And if they are able to trade Nick Benito for Micah Parsons, you have that financial stability to where you could do the 40 million a year, 40 or above, million, a year, and possibly do a front loaded deal with guarantees and everything. So like that possibility is there. Will it happen? No, because Benito will get extended. And I think that that's where you at least hope Benito starts to take his game to the next level, which I think to be at least fair to Benito, he has gotten better every single year since he's been in the NFL. So it might be a bit crazy to say he's overrated right now, Gage. But I will say like he's at least shown and the propensity to have gotten better year after year after year. And so like if he's like entering like year 7 maybe, and it's at that point where it's pretty evident of what he is, then probably I would at that point say, yeah, this guy might be a little bit overrated. But Benito has gotten better every single year. The run defense has gotten better, every single year. He clearly made plays that you don't see an edge rusher make. Frankly, you probably haven't seen an edge rusher maybe make that since a guy like a Micah Parsons of, interceptions and stuff like that, crazy plays like in the Colts game or anything like that. So I just think that like there's at least the possibility of this where it depends on what Benito is going to end up getting, because like that's the crazy part of this whole conversation is it might, the thing is, I don't blame others, that want to throw Benito in the conversation, of like, oh, he's worth probably like 20 to 23 million per year. Like, I don't fault them for believing that. The problem is the market will always be the market, right? And so that's why you actually, I should say this, market is always going to be market, and it's a premium position. So he is going to be paid, right, probably where he is going to end up being, which is, right in that 25 to 28 mark, maybe even 30, as ridiculous as that sounds. But that's just all the market, right? And that is all about the market and premium position.
Yeah.
And what does make that a little bit easier to swallow is in just 2 years from now, that will be viewed as like a league average deal. So that makes it sting a little bit less. Plus the fact that the salary cap is only going to go up. And I know that people say the NFL has a hard cap, but when you have the richest owners in sports, it really isn't a hard cap. You can do all different forms of salary cap manipulation, spreading out bonuses, prorated years, void years at the end of the deal. So they can make this work. My question is, has Benito hit his ceiling yet? I do agree 100% that he's gotten better every single year, but where is that going to reach its peak? Has it reached its peak last year where he got 13 sacks on paper, but I didn't feel like it really was a 13 sack caliber season. And yeah, he makes those plays in coverage, which is absolutely awesome. You don't see very many edge rushers make those plays, to your point, Cam. I completely agree with you there. But what I'm wondering is, with everything in mind that you just paid Zach Allen, you've got to pay Bo Nix coming up, and you've got this really short championship window. Is it worth it giving Benito that much money when you can use that money to pay somebody else, maybe bring in another top tier receiver, another weapon for Bo Nix? I'm just kind of throwing an example out there. And then you could ask one of your younger edge rushers like Jonah Ellis or Dondre Tillman to step up. Would the drop off from Benito really be that much to Ellis or Tillman when you consider that you've got Zach Allen eating double teams and that guy's going to almost always get a one-on-one matchup? That's just a fair question to ask, in my opinion.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like, so like just in the hypotheticals, in the frame of hypotheticals, let's go with another hypothetical, and that is they don't extend Benito right now, but at the midway point of the season, the sack numbers, the QB hits, because sacks is a glorified stat, but like, the sacks are right in between where, Jonah Ellis is roughly the same number of sacks at this point as Benito. The quarterback hits, the hurries, et cetera, are roughly the same. You are going to have a hard conversation of, okay, maybe we don't extend him at this point, and you do also the rare thing at the end of this offseason, which will be the transition tag, which would suggest that they want to actually trade him and not necessarily, a true franchise tag, if you will, that they would actually do a transition tag, which still, to be fair, is a rare thing. Like, you rarely see the transition tag happening. But the Jonah Ellis, the only scenario as of this point with Benito for this is that if Jonah Ellis, who I think is pretty evident, like Benito, where he is getting better year after year after year, if it's trending in the direction where you like him more than Nick, okay, then you have a pretty solid chess piece here to use to get some decent capital, possibly free up some decent money for something else. So it's just probably your hypothetical that might actually happen more so than obviously the Micah Parsons stuff.
Yeah, and it is worth noting that both Ellis and Dondre Tillman were playing really well in training camp up to this point. And Q Robinson, before he got a little bit shaken up, he was playing well as well. The Broncos have got significant depth at that position. That's why they can afford to be patient. And I think it's smart for Nick to be patient as well, because he wants to wait for Micah to get his deal. That'll mean that he'll probably get a couple extra $1 million on his deal. So I think that right now, Nick's going to wait until Micah gets paid, maybe wait until halfway through the season. And if he's producing at a high level, it's a no-brainer. Pay the man, get it done, and this conversation's over. But if we're halfway through the year and he's not quite living up to the same level that he was last year, I think that we should start having some conversations about a transition tag, or maybe just a flat-out franchise tag, and give him one more year to go out there and prove it. So I think there are a lot of different ways that you can go about this, and it's all going to be predicated on how Nick Benito plays.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so to kind of go back to what we were originally talking to, we talked about all these things, but when it comes right down to it, we all would love to have Micah Parsons, right? Like, this isn't us saying, like, no, we don't want him. Like, obviously, we would love to have Micah Parsons. But at the same time, we don't need a Micah Parsons on the defense, right? Like, we don't need Nick Benito to be a Micah Parsons. We don't need him to be a Von Miller. We don't need him to be a TJ Watt, right? Like, we just need – I mean, honestly, at this point, we just need him to maintain what he did last year. Because you have so much depth behind him. You have so many pass rushers and solid starters on the defensive line. You've got probably the best secondary in the NFL behind him. Like, you have all of these players on defense. We don't need a Micah Parsons. Would we want one? Yes.
And we haven't even talked about Cooper, like, in this conversation at all. And from all the reports is that he's having the best camp out of all the edge rushers this year.
And, and that's the thing is, like, no news is good news. And I think that, when you have the Tim Patrick of the edge room, Jonathan Cooper, who's just Mr. Consistent,
Another 7th round pick, by the way.
But yeah,
and you still got Jonah Ellis and DeAndre Tillman. I mean, there's all these younger guys
stacked, dude.
That we may be sitting here thinking Nick Benito is the answer or the key to the future, but to be fair, there's these guys that are behind him that could possibly be better, and this year too,
right?
Or if not better, equally as good.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so let's go into this. Obviously, the biggest news from this week was Zach Allen getting his extension, 4 years, $102 million extension, 69.5 guaranteed. I think it is well worth it, and I think that's a team-friendly contract.
Yeah, it is.
Just like all of them have been so far.
I will say I was actually surprised because, like, when you look through the defensive linemen and what they've been paid, I was surprised. I actually thought, looking at it, that he would get above Milton Williams, and Milton Williams was good. Don't get me wrong, like, he was great with Philly, and I think the part that I think made it palpable for him was he was a free agent, not a in-house guy. So at that point, you're throwing the bag at a player like that in free agency. But I think that just the fact that they were able to get it, with the number that they were, and, obviously rightfully getting the raise that he deserved, which was, so deserved. I mean, there's an argument to be made. Like, he is the most underrated player in the NFL, and probably the best defensive tackle, interior defensive lineman in the game right now. Because, like, I will say the one of the most craziest statistics over the 2024 season was Zach Allen. I mean, when you think about the fact that he had better numbers than the guy in Chris Jones with the Kansas City Chiefs, who is a phenomenal player that everybody tabbed as like the next Aaron Donald. Well, the next Aaron Donald possibly might actually be in the Mile High City, and that being Zach Allen, because he had double the quarterback hits of Chris Jones. Like, he had 40 QB hits last year. Like, how is that even physically possible? Like, so it's just like, it is just absurd to me. Like, you want to talk about a player. I mean, when we were saying Benito has gotten better, like, Zach Allen has gotten better the moment JJ Watt was in his ear. Mm-hmm. Like it's just exponentially better, and the sky is ultimately the limit for him, where I'm hoping he really hits superstar status by the end of 2025.
Yeah. I mean, every single penny of that deal was well earned, and it was about $5 million per year lighter than I thought it was going to be. Chris Jones, I think, is like at 31 or maybe 33 per year. I didn't think that Allen was going to get quite that much, but just a touch under that I thought was more than realistic. Nope. He's the third highest paid interior guy in the NFL behind Chris Jones and Milton Williams. That is such a good deal. 75 total pressures. 75. That is freaking nuts, dude. For an interior guy consistently in the lap of the quarterback, 35 quarterback flushes from the pocket. One thing I will say, I do want somebody else to step up on that D line just so we can relieve him of some snaps. 639 pass rush snaps and 317 run defense snaps last year. That's per PFF. That is way too many. I would definitely like that to come down. And just think, if those numbers come down, he might be even more efficient out there next year. So that's just crazy to think about. I think that Zach Allen's the straw that stirs the entire drink on the D line. He eats double teams. He makes life easier for the edge rushers. John Franklin Myers is also a big part of that too. I don't want him to get lost in the sauce. He was incredible in his own right, but Zach Allen was a fucking monster last year.
Mm-hmm. I got to give kudos to Zach Seegers, actually, because he put a tweet out there last week where he was talking about how the Draymond Jones, who we were all lamenting leaving, and Zach Allen ended up getting similar contracts with their respective teams. Draymond with the Seahawks at the time, and Draymond signed a contract. He's no longer with the Seahawks. He signs a contract for $8.3 million for 1 year deal this year, and meanwhile Zach Allen gets a 4-year $102. So again, this front office, Vance Joseph being the secret sauce in this recruitment process. Zach was saying that he was the main reason that he actually came here, and even give JJ Watt some props here too, because he's continuing to mentor Zach Allen and really to the Broncos' benefit, quite honestly.
I'm gonna have to start eating a snack. You guys are talking about eating and drinking. It's awesome. Jeez.
Well, as far as the drinking is concerned, you need to be laying off the Mountain Dew. So if you do drink something, get some water.
Water.
There's water
Some high
in
quality.
this.
Some high quality
High quality
H2O, my friend.
H2O.
High quality H2O. But no, it's just it is, you know, obviously our Manly episode we did a what if pod with Kodiak Broncos, and you know, but like that's also one of the fascinating what ifs, you know, the Draymond Jones and, you know, Zach Allen, you know, conversation. Like I think the defense would have been fine, but I don't think it would necessarily be at the level that it is you know, right now. And that is to the credit of Zach Allen. And I think that, you know, when you look back at that year, it was also one where it was either they are re-signing, you know, Draymond Jones, or they're going to be signing Zach Allen. So like, that's at least like the cool part of this is it wasn't like there was another person who was like the wild card option, at least that we know of. Like it was Zach Allen or Draymond Jones. And it was pretty evident, you know, once Draymond, you know, chose his fate and went to Seattle and shot his mouth off on both social media and with the Seattle Seahawks, that it became pretty evident who was the professional and who was the unprofessional. Just putting it bluntly.
We're going to see him opening day. He's the Titan now.
A few former Broncos returning to down. We've got Draymond Jones, you've got Lloyd Cushenberry, Cody Barton. So that's going to be a fun one.
Oh my gosh, you forgot about Cushenberry. Isn't that wild? Like he's just such a non-factor after he leaves. Yeah.
You know, I keep thinking back when we're talking about how well the defense is playing at training camp and how the offense has gotten better at training camp. You have Bo Nix and all of these offensive weapons practicing every day against the Broncos defense. And then we have a first week matchup against the Titans. Like, can you imagine what our offense is going to look like against that defense?
I mean, we are talking.
I'm not saying like the Titans' defense sucks. We don't know, but we know what the Broncos' defense looks like.
Right, but we also aren't going to be talking or predicting that the Broncos' offense is going to put up 7 touchdowns, or Bo Nix is going to be putting up 7 touchdowns and, you know, breaking the, you know, the record, if you will, for Manning.
Nix will have 5. Dobbins will have 2.
I don't know. In that particular game, I think that Denver is going to dominate the time of possession. So I think it's going to be a lot of running the football in that game, just trying to bleed the clock down.
Yeah. But I think that, you know, talking about this offense, though, you know, one of the things that just is going to that point is going to make this team really complement each other well is the running game. And I think that you're starting to kind of see things percolate with RJ Harvey, where, you know, to Bree's point, and Albert Breer's point, like he's getting better in pass pro, like he's really starting to kind of come along a little bit too in the passing game, which I wasn't really worried about that. I mean, he was very rarely used as a weapon at UCF, but it was pretty evident that he was a weapon out of the backfield. So, I mean, like you're starting to kind of see things be well complemented between, you know, J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey, to where Dobbins may be the one, right? Like that's everything we've said. Like Dobbins is probably going to end up being your one. And then it's just a matter of, do we have, I don't think it's extreme given the fact it's the same coaching staff tree, but I would not rule out the possibility that we might have a David Montgomery and Jamar Gibbs type situation here in Denver, because J.K. Dobbins is kind of the Mark Ingram running back that Sean has been looking for. And R.J. Harvey is kind of the running back in Darren Sproles, who we may be talking about in the next 5 minutes, who may be in addition to Sean Payton's staff here in just a little bit. But, you know, it's just, they complement each other really well, and we know that the Broncos probably want to be running the ball, you know, as many times as they can with not Bo Nix because of the fact he injured his back last year.
Yeah. All right, so we have talked about training camp. We've talked about possible trades. We have talked injuries. We've talked starting positions. We finally have a football game for the Denver Broncos this weekend on Saturday. Preseason game, Broncos versus the Niners. Are we going to see the starters out there, and for how long?
Yes.
We are. We don't know how long. I'm assuming 1, 2, maybe 3 drives. Probably not for very long. I know that they want to get plenty of action for the second and third and fourth team, but we are going to see starters out there. That includes Bo Nix. We might not see Pat Surtain out there like some of the guys who are super duper important. We might not see Dre Greenlaw or Alex Singleton because they're a little bit banged up right now. They do have the joint practices ahead of the game, so that might factor into things a little bit there, depending on how many reps guys get.
Do we know the depth chart breakdown against the 49ers of the wide receivers? Like who's
No,
one, who's two, who's
and
three?
whatever depth chart they release is going to be bullshit. Like, we shouldn't pay attention to it whatsoever. They're only releasing it because they have to. That's not going to be the actual rotation that we see out there in the game.
Yeah.
So as far as the game itself is concerned, for probably the first half of the first quarter, we're going to see starters, and then the rest of it's going to be guys fighting for opportunities, key backups in the second quarter, typical preseason game, but it's going to be fun. Denver Broncos football. There's a lot of guys who are going to be competing for roster spots on the back end of this roster. This is going to be really fun, competitive football as we even get into the fourth quarter of this game.
Yeah.
What are we looking for in this preseason game? Obviously, we're not looking that much at the starters because we know who the starters are going to be. But are there any particular players that we need to look out for? Are there any particular players that are more than likely going to be on the roster, but they may still be on that edge that we need to kind of keep an eye on? Like, what kind of things are we looking for?
Maybe it's just the theme of camp, but I would just say it's, these guys that are having a very good camp but are separating themselves, and because I just have this feeling that, guys like Pat Bryant and Troy Franklin are going to be used in preseason a bunch. And so can they continue, their, trend upwards, if you will? Because I will say, if there is something that I feel a little bit more comfortable, I will say that is that I think that the likelihood of Troy Franklin and Pat Bryant supplanting Devon Vele is a little bit more likely than Lavelle Bailey replacing Alex Singleton at this point. I know that sounds crazy, but I think that's a little bit more likely based on where I'm currently reading things, because obviously Vele's been dealing with some injuries, but Franklin and Bryant are literally the talk of camp. Every single quarterback that you are seeing in the news has found Pat Bryant at some point or another. And Franklin's making plays with whoever. Those are probably two guys. And then sure, Lavelle Bailey, but guys, I think that that's guys that I think that are just going to be testing the depth. And that's the whole theme of preseason is, can we look at this situation where the depth is finally really good depth? All this talk about how good this depth is, the roster, everything else, is this team really ready to take that next step where their depth is finally 2 and 3 deep at every position?
Yes. And, some other guys that I'm going to be keeping an eye on, Caleb Lohner, the rookie tight end playing in his first NFL game. He's made some plays out there. Pretty much all the rookies just getting their feet wet, getting their first NFL action. The most important thing that we want above all else is to stay healthy. We don't want any major injuries coming out of both the practice or the game. So that's a big thing, obviously. I'm also going to be keeping an eye on the 2 undrafted free agents who have really stood out in camp, Courtney Jackson and Jerwan Newton, and I guess Joaquin Davis as well. 3 guys have really stood out in that category. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on those guys, see if one of them can separate for a potential practice squad role. Damari Mathis, I want to shout Mari out, man. He has had an awesome camp. he is playing so much better than we've seen from him in a long time. He's making plays every single day. He looks good in coverage. He's not blowing assignments. He looks like a rejuvenated football player out there, and he's looking for an opportunity to play. It's probably not going to be on this team, but maybe for some other team out there, this is a big opportunity for Damari Mathis. And then I saw a comment about Audric Estime. Both he and Blake Watson have big opportunities in this one.
Playing well, too.
What's that?
They're playing well, yeah.
Yes, they're starting to stack some days in training camp. So this is a great opportunity with live tackling, live bullets flying for them to make an impact. Estime's trying to make that push for a roster spot. Blake Watson probably trying to make that push for a practice squad spot. So both of those guys, I'm really looking forward to see. Sam Ehlinger, he's going to give you some fun plays out there. He's kind of either a positive, big, explosive play or a negative play. There's not much in between with Sam Ehlinger. So he's going to give you some fun plays out there.
He's also not really a quarterback either. He's not really a quarterback either. Let's be honest.
Yeah, no, like he really isn't, man. He's athletic as hell, though. I will give him some credit. He's got some wheels, and I think he's going to use them in that game.
You know you're a really bad quarterback. Just based on where we are as Bronco fans, you know you're a bad quarterback when you make the best throw of camp and you make the worst throw of camp. Just knowing that the highs and lows of us being in Bronco camps, if a quarterback is making the best throw in camp and the worst throw in camp, you're probably not an NFL quarterback.
And the funniest part about that big throw across his body, it probably would have been a sack from Andrew Farmer in game conditions. Farmer was breathing right down his neck, and it looked like he pulled up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The question is Bidet. I haven't really heard anything about Bidet.
So Bidet's he's been good.
Yeah, you heard some stuff, I think, initially. But I think Watson and Estime is a bit more louder now.
Yeah, and then a lot of RJ Harvey. I just haven't heard a lot of Bidet, though.
Like, he's had some good days and some bad days.
Yeah.
He's stupid.
But, yeah, it's kind of like Cam said. It was a little bit earlier on in practice. As time's gone on, Blake Watson and Audric Estime have both gotten more snaps. At this point, I'd say that Bidet is probably a lock for the practice squad. They know what they have in him. He can fill a specific niche role for you. They can elevate him from the practice squad up to 3 times. So that's definitely a possibility for him. I just don't think that he's going to make the team on the active roster.
So at this point, you guys that have been at training camp particularly, who are the players that you see making the 53 mainly because we'd lose them if we try to get them on the practice squad?
Bo Nix.
And that's why I said that. That's why I particularly asked.
I'm there every day. You just don't see
it. Just like the Mile High Huddle guys.
That's right. I'm like John Cena.
I think that's where it's going to be interesting because I think that's where you'll go to like some of the conversations of like where I would be like for preseason, why I'm kind of excited for preseason. And that's like the trenches, right? Because like, that's where you want to probably look at guys like, okay, how good is Frank Crum right now? Right? Like how good is Frank Crum right now where you feel like he might still be that boundary practice squad guy. But he's also been good enough. And it's pretty evident that they still love Frank Crum. To where, you know, they might still put him on the practice squad, but also they really want him on the 53. So, like, that's one of those names, possibly. And then, you know, of course, you know, how many, like, of the secondary options, does this team actually want? Because I think that, you know, we should call into remembrance. We thought that they were going to carry 4 safeties last year, and they carried, I believe it was 5 or 6 safeties last year, and Keidron Smith did so much last year in preseason to where it was pretty evident he earned that 53-man spot. So I think that it's one where you look at some of those places where it's not so much like the Trent Sherfield kind of guy, because I think that because the top 6 wide receivers are a lock. Like it is pretty set in stone. They're keeping 6. The question, if you're
only 6,
yes, they're well, but that's the thing. It's like and that goes to the Joaquin Davis, and it goes to the Jerwan Newton, and it goes to the Courtney Jackson. I would probably lend more to Jerwan Newton and Joaquin Davis in this, but it was just like if they play really well in preseason, you are going to probably have some rough conversations of do they do the unthinkable, and that is carrying 7 wide receivers. And that is where I kind of go towards Joaquin Davis because he's such a traitsy wide receiver that I just worry if he is on the practice squad, if he puts so much on tape, a team is going to come in and swoop him. And obviously that's the case for really anybody, but like Davis specifically, anybody's going to just come in and swoop him and take him. And then we missed out on something like that because of that. But I think that you go to the lower parts in the depth chart, like a Frank Crum, or even on the back end on players like that.
Yeah.
Vic, just for Vic. Fun fact, Glenn and Gage are both in closets. Glenn's is just a lot bigger.
Oh, just up here. Let's see. There's
Glenn's able to have shelves in his closet, like way up above a window, and all kinds.
There's probably like another 25 in a bin.
Glenn's
I
more
had
of
a
a
spot to display everything.
Glenn's is more of a man cave. Gage is more of a true closet right now.
A cave, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Glenn's is like a man cave. Gage's is like a porta potty. That's
Oh man. But as far as guys who are definitely like guys who might not be able to sneak onto the practice squad, Frank Crum, Xavier Truss, Clay Webb, kind of all 3 of those guys on the offensive line. One of the wide receivers. The guy who's really been making plays has been Jerwan Newton. He might be the guy that you might have a tough time with because I've seen his name get snuck out there to the national media a couple of times. Mm-hmm. So I'd keep an eye on him. Defensively, I had a couple names and I lost them. JL Skinner, I think, is a possibility. Keydron Smith, I think, is a possibility. So those are kind of the guys that I would keep an eye on. You're going to have some key special teams players that are pretty much locks, like Trent Sherfield, Sam Franklin, Mike Burton, all of those guys pretty much locks because of special teams value.
You might see Burton be cut and then brought back, but yeah.
If we're doing let's say we do 7 wide receivers, right? Are we cutting back on running back then? Are we going with 3? Are we going with 2?
Well, so
tight end.
The running back conversation is a whole different beast right now. Because,
but you have to have more than just 2 tight ends, though, right? You have to have 3 or 4.
Well, if you're doing 4 running backs, I would cut Burton and not bring him back.
So then you would have Dobbins, Harvey, Estime, and Watson.
I don't think Burton's not coming back because Sean Payton's always had a fullback, and Nate Adkins is playing tight end. He's not playing fullback.
No, I know, and that's where it's just like if he does cut Burton, I would personally, if we're talking, upside's been the theme of what we've been doing the last couple of weeks. Like, I would rather give it to Nate Adkins, just as far as his versatility and everything he can do. But
okay, so let's say
could Troutman be a cut casualty, or is he a lock?
Another one of those where Sean
you
is
have to think
on.
He's 2, right? Tight end 2 at this point.
Yeah, so Troutman's going to be your starting inline tight end.
Yeah,
so he's not going anywhere. He's going to.
But we have Loner. We have Atkins.
I think you're talking 4 tight ends.
Loner's not going on the practice squad. He would be gone.
I don't know about that. I think you could sneak Loner through. I had him in my projected video today. I had him only keeping 3 tight ends.
I think
Atkins, Ingram, and
so if you're
that's why I didn't like the video. No,
if you're carrying a fullback, then you got to think 3 running backs outside of that, right? So you're looking Dobbins.
No,
Harvey.
we had 4 last year with.
Yeah, I got him at 4.
You had 4 with a fullback?
Hold on. Let me go ahead and just pull up my little projected roster here just to make it easier for me to.
So we obviously know the first 2. So that would be 5 running backs, including the fullback on the roster, right?
1 second.
No,
so are you talking
running back and 1 fullback for being technical?
Yeah, I got that. So are we talking Watson and Estime, or are there other running backs I'm not thinking of?
They're not cutting.
I've
Jaleel.
got it as Dobbins, Harvey, McLaughlin, Estime, and Burton.
Oh, I forgot about McLaughlin. Whoops.
Yeah, Jaleel's a lock.
So then you've got running backs fighting for that 4th spot.
Mhm.
Yeah, and Estime's pretty much got it on lock right now, I'd say.
Okay. With the fullback.
Yeah, I've got him only keeping 3 tight ends and only 8 offensive linemen and 4 linebackers. So that's kind of where you're going to be a little bit short on some positions. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, I think I had to do it. Sorry.
Okay, no, you're good. So yeah, 2 quarterbacks, 5 running backs, 3 tight ends, your 6 wide receivers.
Whoa, I got
8
too small.
Oh, sorry. You got 8 offensive linemen. You got Palcho, Parrott, and Forsyth as kind of your backup guys. I do think Iomo Wazarike could sneak on. He's been getting some first team reps. Savion Jones is a lock as a
Forgot about
draft pick.
Savion Jones.
Yeah. Edge rushers, I think they keep 5 at this point. I think those 5 are kind of a lock.
Mhm.
I'm assuming this isn't like in order, right? You're like, this
No.
isn't how you think. Okay.
This is not in order of rotation. 4 linebackers. It could be 5, but I've got it at 4 right now. 5 corners, your 3 starters, and then Macmillan and Cad.
What
And then I've
about
got
what about Drew Sanders?
Drew Sanders? He's going to be on the initial 53. What I think they'll do is not have Burton on the initial 53. Sanders goes on the short-term IR, and then they bring Burton back. To
And
the
he's
53
out for the
afterwards.
first 4, right?
Correct.
On short term. Okay.
Mhm.
And then safety, you've got Jones, Hufanga, Locke, Key, Skinner, and then Sam Franklin is your special teams guy. And then you've got kicker, punter, long snapper.
So we could have some of these receivers under lock and key. Quite honestly.
Facts.
Or what we could do is we could draft a wide receiver.
We already did.
No, we could draft a wide receiver in 2026, and he could be the key to that wide receiver room.
Yeah, but we're going to be drafting at 32, so.
But he could be available then.
We'll see. All right. Anything else that we need to cover? I really don't care about what the score is for the preseason game. I don't care.
I'm just excited.
Broncos
we
win
don't-
by 50 points.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, we don't care if they win or lose a preseason game. They care. But I'm just saying, we're not going to break down the score of the game like it's a preseason game. But I am very excited to watch it. Like, it's been forever without football. We also have college football starting up pretty quick. So I'm excited for both. It's going to be fun.
Can't
So-
wait to see Nebraska fail to meet their expectations once again.
You mean like Travis Hunter?
That's a standing headline if I ever heard one. Yeah.
As long as they get one win more, that's all I care about.
I mean, everybody was so hyped about Shedeur Sanders, and he's probably going to get traded or cut. So, I mean, it is when, people don't seem to like expectations.
Well, you said Travis Hunter was going to be a bust, so let me.
He is.
No, he's not.
Generational talent, just like Trevor Lawrence. Oh, that's worked out well. Caleb
Yeah.
Williams. Oh, that's worked out
Even
well.
though he's playing both receiver and corner for the Jaguars.
By the way-
And-
both
Oh my
positions.
and
He's balling out at both positions.
he's balling out
at both
against the
positions, Mike.
Jaguars.
By the way, the Bo Nix stat that was been going around in terms of between something that was created by Sean Payton and everything, where he was talking about through his analytics team or whatever, and he was tallying all basically everything as far as efficiency and everything like that, and it all kind of went back to taking sacks. It kind of lended to the idea that the Broncos wanted 2 quarterbacks in 2024. And it was Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix. So, and also to this point, and we just mentioned his name, it does not bode well for Caleb Williams, because the one thing that they chartered was the quarterback who takes a lot of sacks in college. Are they successful in the NFL? And in the 30 years that they were, tallying all of this, there was no quarterback that was taking a lot of sacks in college that got better in the NFL. There was no quarterback that did that. I mean, granted, Russell Wilson is maybe somewhat of that outlier if you want to be completely honest, but I think that was more so the offensive line with Wisconsin than anything else. So it's not really boding well for Caleb right now.
Yeah, I agree.
Generational talent.
I'm gonna say it, man. I tried calling it back when they were coming out, and people were trying to say I'm crazy. But I was saying that Jaden Daniels was better than Caleb Williams, and people were shitting on me for it. Not so crazy now.
All right.
I'm going to take that victory lap, man, because I had people saying ugly shit, man. Ugly shit.
I'm
just
we
saying,
supported you.
Like, in order for you to not be eating crow, Travis Hunter has to be an all-pro.
Which I believe he will be.
He will be.
I was willing to put that bet out publicly for a reason. I believe he will be an all-pro.
And he will be. Look, I'm a Nebraska fan, and I'm actually admitting that Travis Hunter is a generational talent.
Absolute booty cheeks.
So the guy over here at the top left
generational
corner,
talent. You mean like Caleb Williams? You mean like Trevor Lawrence?
No.
I never said Caleb Williams was a generational talent. I pushed back on that crap.
I'm just saying, like generational stuff with Travis Hunter is like we haven't seen since Charles Woodson type stuff, man. Like Charles Woodson, Champ Bailey, like we haven't seen any of that really. And granted, Champ Bailey ended up being an elite corner. Deion Sanders, certainly another one. Although at that point he didn't lose a toe. But anyway, like I don't know. The guy over here in the top left corner is just not a ball knower when it comes to Travis Hunter. I'm sorry. He is a generational talent. He is the reason why.
You keep saying that.
He is the reason why Nebraska stayed in the was a close game and it ended up being a blowout. Like he was the reason why that game ended up being somewhat close, and it wasn't even close.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Anything else we need to cover? Or did we get it all covered?
I think we got it.
All right. So make sure that you tune into all the other shows that are on the network. We got shows Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We have the neighborhood starting back up on the first regular season game, the Broncos versus the Titans. Also, make sure you check out Gage, the host of Broncos Syndicate, has all of your Broncos information, does daily videos, more than one a day at times. So make sure you go there and check it out, get all the information. I suppose you can watch Cam on Mainly Broncos on Wednesday nights at 8:30 Central Time, 7:30 Mountain Time.
You do you.
Make sure you check that out as well. But we do want to thank every single person that joined us in the chat. It is absolutely amazing when you guys can jump in, give us your opinions, give us your takes. That is going to do it for us. We love the Broncos. We love Broncos country. We'll see you guys later. Peace.
Absolute booty cheek.
Fast lane when I pass in the street. Bag of money in the passenger seat. Tempo's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast's racking up the flame out. So